Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're digging into one of the most emotionally charged tropes in all of anime, the characters we love to hate. These are the ones that ignite Reddit wars, fill YouTube comment sections with heated debates, and yet, we just can't stop watching them. Whether it's a betrayer, a villain, or a morally gray anti-hero, they captivate us in a way that even the main protagonists sometimes can't. But what really makes them so powerful, what pushes our buttons, is often hidden in their backstory. It's not just what they do, it's why they do it. This video, we'll be diving into 5 iconic anime characters, both classic and from the latest 2025 releases, whose stories force us to both despise and understand them. Let's break it all down.
I got loyalty inside my DNA. I got loyalty inside my DNA. I got peace, got war and peace inside my DNA. I got poison, pain, and joy inside my DNA.
Let's begin with one of the most iconic love-to-hate characters in anime history, Light Yagami from Death Note. When we first meet Light, he's a model student, brilliant, well-mannered, and disgusted with the corruption in society. Then he finds the Death Note, a notebook that can kill anyone whose name is written in it. His initial goal is something we might even agree with: eliminate criminals and create a safer world. But here's where it gets complicated. Light's sense of justice is pure, until it becomes personal. As the story progresses, his idealism warps into egotism. He begins killing anyone who opposes him, even innocent people, just to maintain power. But this descent isn't random. It's written into his very psychology. Raised to believe he's superior, Light's genius is both his strength and his undoing. His backstory, the perfect son, the unchallenged intellect, reveals a young man who was never taught how to fail, and when he gains godlike power, it breaks him. That's why we hate Light, not because he's evil, but because he could have been great. He reflects what happens when idealism isn't grounded in humility, and that's what makes his story so gripping. Now let's talk about one of the most universally despised anime characters, Rachel from Tower of God. Her betrayal of Bam is one of the most shocking moments in anime. Not because she was a villain all along, but because she was pretending to be helpless. At first, we sympathize with Rachel. She's quiet, timid, seemingly kind, someone who wants to climb the tower to see the stars. But then she shoves Bam, her closest friend, off the platform. And suddenly, everything changes. Why did she do it? Her backstory explains it all. Rachel isn't evil. She's envious, living in Bam's shadow despite being the one who longed for greatness first, eats away at her self-worth. She's not angry at Bam, she's angry at the universe for favoring him. Her betrayal is not about power or ambition, it's about insecurity. She wants to matter, and in a brutal world like the Tower, that means cutting down even those who love you. We hate her because her actions feel personal, but when we peel back the layers, we realize Rachel is a portrait of the destructive power of comparison. She shows us how envy can drive someone to become the villain in someone else's story, and in her own.
Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Nothing wrong.
Next up is Askeladd from Vinland Saga, a character who redefines what it means to be morally gray. On the surface, Askeladd is manipulative, cunning, and even heartless. He kills Thors, deceives Thorfinn, and commands with ruthless precision. But once we dive into his backstory, a deeper story unfolds. Askeladd is the product of 2 worlds. Born to a Danish father and a Welsh slave mother, he lives every day hiding who he truly is. He despises the Vikings for their savagery, yet uses them as pawns to protect Wales, his mother's homeland. Every decision he makes, no matter how cruel, is part of a long-term strategy to preserve a culture that's being crushed under imperial expansion. His actions might be brutal, but they're not senseless. They're strategic, and they come at a deep emotional cost. Unlike a pure villain, Askeladd is painfully aware of the lives he ruins, but he chooses to bear that weight, a burden he sees as necessary. We love to hate him because he forces us to question the morality of leadership, survival, and sacrifice. In another life, he could have been a hero. Instead, he's something more powerful, a human. Let's shift focus to one of anime's most flamboyant and irredeemable villains, Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. From the moment Dio steps into the Joestar mansion, he's pure menace, a manipulative, power-hungry antagonist who will stop at nothing to dominate. He poisons, mocks, abuses, and ultimately turns into a vampire to cheat death and gain immortality. On the surface, Dio is easy to hate. He's arrogant, violent, and seemingly lacks empathy, but underneath the cruelty is a backstory that adds a layer layer of complexity. Dio was born into squalor, the son of an abusive, alcoholic father who saw him as little more than a tool. He grows up in filth, watching his mother die from neglect and poverty. So when Dio is adopted by the wealthy Joestar family, he doesn't see kindness. He sees an opportunity to never be powerless again. Every evil act he commits is fueled by this need to dominate, to escape the fate of becoming another forgotten poor kid like his father. His villainy is theatrical, yes, but it's also deeply psychological. Dio is what happens when ambition festers in a soul denied love and dignity. We hate him because he's unapologetic, but we can't look away because part of us gets why. He's like this. He's the ultimate villain, not because he's inhuman, but because he's a twisted reflection of everything we fear about unchecked trauma and ego. And let's be honest, when he says, "Rai wai," we all secretly cheer. Last but not least, let's talk about Sukuna, the king of curses from Jujutsu Kaisen. Sukuna is pure evil, right? A bloodthirsty demon who takes pleasure in chaos? Yes, and yet he's one of the most captivating characters in anime today. Unlike Light or Askeladd, Sukuna doesn't try to justify his actions. He's arrogant, violent, and unrepentantly cruel. So why are we drawn to him? Part of it is his charisma, the way he commands every scene with confidence and power. But the real reason lies in his origin. Sukuna wasn't always a curse. He was once human, a powerful sorcerer feared and reviled even before his transformation. While we don't know his full backstory yet, what's clear is this: Sukuna embodies humanity's fear of unchecked power. He's the monster that society created and then tried to forget. And now, through Yuji Itadori, he exists in a strange duality, a curse sharing a body with a kind-hearted teen. That contrast creates endless tension. We hate him for what he's done, especially in season 2, yet we watch because of him. Sukuna is the embodiment of evil we can't ignore, and that's exactly why he works. So why do we love to hate these characters? Because they're not flat, they're layered, contradictory, and rooted in something real. Whether it's jealousy, trauma, identity, or power, each of these characters holds up a mirror to something human, even when they're acting monstrous. Great writing makes us feel something complex. It makes us pause before judging. It turns hate into curiosity, and that's what separates forgettable villains from timeless icons. We yell at Rachel, admire and condemn Light, analyze Sukuna's every word, and quietly wonder if we'd make the same choices as Askeladd or Jinwoo. They stay with us not just because they're hated, but because they're understood, and maybe that's the greatest power a character can have. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments. Who's your favorite love to hate character in anime? I'll see you next time.